All right, demand gen. Let's talk about retargeting because that's you're in that business and you've
Yeah.
got a product in that space. A lot of brands we talk to are sort of afraid or not really. They don't know how to think about the cookieless future. This is so you've got Apple sort of limiting D2C brands' ability to monitor third-party cookies on their platform. I read the other day that Google's considering doing the same thing with Chrome. And so, what is a brand to do? How does a brand navigate this like inability to leverage third-party data?
So there's a few ways. We have a couple ways. So we are part of publisher networks that this is getting wildly technical, but they use a strategy called CNAME cloaking that pairs authentication events, unlike the New York Times, with the email that authenticated and matches it with a first-party cookie to a browser. And then the CNAME cloaking strategy is basically using that table of first-party cookies to match to the publisher network's third-party cookie. So anyway, it works in cookie challenge environments. And what's interesting is our main use case is email, but if you take our audience that we can resolve to a SHA-256 hash, which is like you can put in Facebook. If you put that audience in Facebook and exclude the Facebook retargeting audience, there's like a 40% lift. 40% of the people in that audience are left over. So Facebook's missing them, which is not surprising because they're getting blocked by everyone in Safari. So it sort of proves to you that this works. And those ads work really well too because those people aren't getting served targeted ads right now. They're not, you know what I mean? It's like the tracking pixels are getting blocked. So they're just not getting ads. That is the unfortunate reality. Fortunate or unfortunate, that's one thing that you can do. A technology like retention.com, use it in your meta audiences. You can use it with your email, retargeting flows like the browse and cart and, checkout abandonment. One thing we figured out last week that I'm really excited about that you guys maybe will do at some point. We figured out how to lay first party cookies. So like there is a problem with even a cookie that Klaviyo sets as Klaviyo on a browser. It's got an average life of 7 days on Safari. So it's just not, they're not going to know somebody if they do it with an authentication event and they come back 7 days later and they bail on a cart. Like they're not going to send that, you know what I mean? They're not going to send that person a flow. So we figured out how to lay a first party cookie from authentication events that happen in Klaviyo and in Shopify, like on behalf of the brand that have the actual email address and will last forever down on these people to where it's basically like our third party network was getting whatever, like on average 20%. We're getting like another 15% with an overlap of 25% of this other audience, which is actually 100% accurate, 100% persistent forever, and much higher intent because it's people who are actually doing shit. It's literally authentication events that are happening with these people through real email addresses, which is like a huge win for brands. There's companies that are doing something like this called Blot Out. Black Crow AI just made a product that is this. Elevar. It's like they call it server-side tracking. So we figured out how it's like a perfect complement to what we're doing. It's like our accuracy we figured out through this exercise is actually pretty good, but this is a lot higher intent. So the flows perform way better. If you can imagine how much more likely someone is to buy something in an abandoned cart that clicked on an email than who is not opted into your list, right? Like it's night and day. It's like a 5 or 10x higher, efficiency of that email going out. So yeah, that's another way to deal with this. It's doing this it's basically running a little mini CDP inside of your brand, which is what Blotout and, Elevar are. It's systems that lay down first-party cookies wherever they can, based upon whatever authentication events they can pick up. That's the dream, right? Like, unfortunately, in most cases, not many people are logging in. The universe of people you can lay down a first-party cookie on is small, which is why the other strategy we use is so great. It's like, maybe the conversion rate's not as good, but like the breadth is excellent. But combining them both is a huge win, I think. And it's not only for email. It's like Facebook needs that information too, because their conversion pixel is straight up blocked in Safari. Like, if all you did was pass records from Shopify to Facebook's conversion API, you would allow Facebook to label more conversions. Like, the conversion rate would appear to go up, even though the throughput's not really changing. That is because their pixel's blocked, and it doesn't on Safari, and it doesn't pick up these conversions. So I think none of these brands are big yet, these server-side tracking brands. I don't think that anyone's like come up with true product market fit for it. I think they're trying to you got to charge a certain amount of money to make a business work. And to me, this seems like a product that like literally every fucking store would use if it were free, but like for $4,000 a month or whatever, it's like, a little bit hard to get your head around. Like, okay, what is server-side tracking doing for me to like this extent, So anyway, maybe you can see where I'm going with that. This is possibly a down market freemium play for us, I think.
Thinking what's a good follow-up?
Yeah, that was a lot of kind of interesting stuff there. But the long story short is like, I'm not a person who views third-party cookies getting blocked as like, death to vendors. Like, I think there's ways to make this stuff work,
What do you think the longer term risks are with this server side tracking? Or you think that that's going to essentially be...
I don't see it. I mean, it's literally like a private CDP for the brand, and it's, no one else has access to what's inside these cookies. Like, I think it's actually a great thing. The problem is, getting enough of your audience like cookied in this way, because they need to actually perform some authentication event somewhere, be it on a website or an email or something that allows you to do this. So, that would be the issue, right? Like, actually capturing enough of the audience to be able to do anything, to make it significant, right? To be able to do anything with it. But apparently it helps Facebook a lot. I mean, their AI, just if you feed it more information from Shopify that it's not getting from the pixel that it was before, it will like better inform its models for lookalike audiences, everything. I don't know. It's not what it used to be still, but like it helps.
I want to ask like a public perception question, because we both have these retargeting products. So you have one that identifies visitors and can essentially give the brand the emails when the visitor hasn't technically opted into that site.
That is correct.
We have something similar with physical addresses.
Yep.
And when I talk about it online, 90% of the comments are positive, and that's kind of cool. Didn't know you could do that. And maybe 5 or 10% are, this is wrong, or evil,
or worse.
Right. So, like, do you see that? And I guess how do you respond to that?
So, absolutely. By the way, like, my view on this has always been. And I got reminded of this I was talking to Klaviyo a lot because they looked at everything we were doing in April just to sort of understand it better. And this guy, Jake Cohen, who's like VP of product and their longest standing executive, he sent me this video that he made about Klaviyo's position about third-party cookies and how they thought the video is effectively like, we think it's creepy that in ad tech, you can stitch together a disturbingly accurate picture of someone based upon what they've done and serve them an ad, right? And Klaviyo thinks that's creepy, and they're building products for a world in which you wouldn't need to do that, right? My opinion is I don't think that's creepy at all. I think that's the internet. I want to get served targeted ads based upon what I've looked at, right? Like, why would I want a generic, like, why do I want to get like served an ad about like that would be my Super Bowl feed, right? Like a Ford truck. I'm not going to buy a Ford truck, right? Like, I want stuff based on my interest. So going back to your question, public perception, from day one, I thought that the competitive advantage for us was that my view was that we were willing to do stuff in privacy that larger brands were not willing to do. That was legal, that a lot of people thought was creepy, therefore it was keeping competitors out. That I didn't think was wrong. It's like, of course, and I did this Facebook ad campaign right when we launched. I don't know if it's on our website anymore, but I think it's on my YouTube channel or retention.com's YouTube channel. It was hilarious. Like, I got really good at making these ads that would answer the sales questions, but kind of like also stir the pot with this vocal minority that hates this. Cause it's like a religious hatred of this, and it is not rational. It is not, it is just a passion against things like this, right? And I figured I could say some things and people would write a novel back to my ads. And then from the brand account, we just started. So there's no brand to like defame or whatever. I would just wind them up. I would just like say a sentence that would make them even madder. And they just couldn't even believe that it was from the brand account. Also, they're like, does your boss know you're doing that? It was just amazing. But then the ad worked great because like these like vocal minority privacy people were just like, right. That's what social media wants. So, I think the benefits are keeps competitors out, certainly what we're doing. Like, it is very hard for me to imagine that some of these guys who are popping up to compete with us are going to get venture funding and be able to like catch up, right? The downside is, I think given what our current product offering is, there's a ceiling on the size of brands we can sell to. The good news is there's a lot below true enterprise that I think are losing the luxury of having principles about this stuff. Like, it's getting so hard that they need to start employing tactics that are legal that they may have thought were impolite in the last few years. Certainly makes it harder to sell. Shopify has told us they're not going to invest in it. They're not going to like buy the business. It's like the number of strategic acquirers for a large amount for someone who is operating with this posture towards privacy is very low, right? Like, who's going to come along and like, and my view is like, take Klaviyo, for instance, right? Even if they weren't so fundamentally opposed to kind of what we do from an ethos standpoint, they're a messaging business. Like, why are they're trying to IPO? They're 500 million in revenue, wherever it is. Why are they going to add this narrative to such a clean story? For what? Like, how much is it really going to do for them? So I think, that's my whole position on it. It's like, it allowed in our situation, allowed us to enjoy kind of uneconomic unit economics, if you want to think about it that way, like nicer than they otherwise would have been, because any entrepreneur worth their weight in salt is not going into this space, and like the space isn't funded, so you don't have people bludgeoning themselves, like, going after customers. And again, some people have popped up because I'm a moron and I'm like showing my financials online to try to get attention. So like, of course, they figured out how to do it, and they're like, kind of going after, basically undercutting us a little bit. But yeah, that's my view of it. It's like, I don't think it's wrong. I think it's how the internet works. And I just, like I understand the argument that it's like a net negative for the ecosystem. I just don't agree with it. Like people would say like, effectively you're ruining people's inboxes by enabling this. It's like, okay, well, here's how I think about it. If you think about what's in your promotions folder right now, and then you imagined an email from someone whose website you were just on, it's probably more relevant than everything else you're looking at.
Right. And I don't understand I don't understand how your technology works, but isn't the idea that the browser has opted in at some point? Right?
Like somebody person, it's implied rather than explicit consent, which is ultimately what made Klaviyo okay with it, right? They didn't just tell their customers to stop using it. It's like in the US, like we have gotten people to opt in to having their data sold into our identity graph at some point somewhere.
That's what I meant. Some other site, some other place, they sign up for cable.
And we can
I don't know
show
how
them, and we can show them where, So you don't even need to do that technically, but like it eliminates all real problems in the US if you can. When it just comes down to like the only possible other issue is collecting consent for cookie tracking at the brand level. So like using Cookie Pro or something and just getting them to hit accept and describing what you're doing. Once you've done that, there's no...
Right. What's the most common place people opt in and end up in your pool of data?
Co-reg networks. It's just, like there's all sorts of different paths to someone putting any, one way to describe it is like lead gen websites that are kind of like just doors. That's like healthcare, credit card, mortgage, like whatever.
That's right. I was going to guess credit card or
like you're filling
cable.
These out. Yeah, it's like like Fluent runs a bunch of websites, right? Like there are large networks of sites that are literally on the internet to generate data to sell as many times as they can sell it. And like you can't do that shit in Europe, right? But like in the US, it's not opt-in for data collection on the internet. That's just not how it works over here. So in this regard, it is much more laxed in terms of data collection, data sales, and data sharing. And the states are clamping down, but they're clamping down in ways that will ultimately require brands and vendors to just collect consent to do these things. They're not clamping down in a way where they're trying to stop it. They're just saying the claim is that the consumer is unaware. So if you get someone to say accept cookies and very conspicuously you're saying, we will take anonymous, identifiers and connect them to email addresses and possibly contact you as a visitor of the website, and they hit accept for that, that's CCP, you know what I mean? It's like, That's all that's ever going to happen, I think, here.
So at a high level, just to recap, what makes it what makes it allowable? What makes it legal in the U.S.?
So specifically what we're doing, and the core technology is someone hits a website, they don't fill out a form, and then we enable communication with that person afterwards, retargeting. So there's top of the funnel on the homepage to newsletters, there's abandoned carts, there's abandoned products, checkout, whatever. There's two parts to this. One is the email side, and what makes it okay is the CAN spam law of 2003, which was reviewed in 2019, is opt-out rather than opt-in. That is a big misunderstanding in the market. In the US, not Europe, not Canada, the email law for bulk email is opt-out. As long as you have an opt-out link, you can send whatever you want. Why isn't everybody spamming everybody? Because the thing that matters is whether or not you can get delivery. And if you spammed everyone, you would very soon not be able to deliver an email, right? So like we've come up with this perfect system where we've reverse engineered the perfect email and clean it perfectly to where it just works. Everybody would buy lists if they could. It's just there are very few lists that you could buy that actually don't blow you up. So like this is a situation. So that's on the email side. Then on the cookie consent side, the nuanced explanation is these state level laws have to comply with the federal level CAN spam law. California would love to have an opt-in email law. If they did, they'd get sued under federal law. So they can't. So it's still an opt-out law. And like all these laws have to do with, more consent collection and just letting the consumer know what you're doing, giving them the ability to opt out, giving them the ability to see the data that you collected about them. It just doesn't touch this. And another interesting thing, depending on who the audience is here, if you have under 25 million of revenue, CCPA doesn't apply to you, which like most people don't have any idea of. This is another beautiful thing about this space. It's so confusing, like the compliance thing is so confusing and it's so much scarier than it seems that like, we have to deal with the education side of that, which is not helpful, but like, it's pretty clear, the explanation. And we've never not made it through a legal department. So that also, once you get enough big brands, it's like, clearly this is illegal. Clearly this is legal, or Warby Parker, Dr. Squatch, Blend, Bulletproof Coffee, Tonal, Penske Media, they would not all be using this. They have internal in-house counsel, right? Like, so yeah, that's the long and short of it.
So pivoting a little bit, you've got a lot of data on D2C brands. You see what they're doing. We have a lot of data and see what D2C brands are doing. What's working from your perspective?
So I can tell you that here's what we see. We just like see, how the aggregate list of top of funnel emails is doing that we send people. And then we see how these flows do. And from what I see, so like if you were to say like, should people be A/B testing the shit out of their abandoned cart flow to optimize it? Or should they be A/B testing their newsletter? I see 70% of the profitability of email programs coming from newsletters rather than, it's like the flows are more lucrative per instance, if that makes sense. Like an abandoned cart flow, the first email of abandoned cart flow is very lucrative. But like the overall P&L of an email program, just based upon the sheer reach of people's newsletters, it tends to be more is generated outside of those flows with a reasonable attribution window. Something that is very interesting that I have talked to someone about, there's two sides to this actually. AI is a very topical thing to be discussing right now. We have this customer called Bruce Bolt. He's great. Does he work with you guys? Chris Hall? He should.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I'll
introduce him to you. They're cool, innovative batting glove brand. They like love cool stuff like you do, like we do. Like he'll be all over this. So I had him on my podcast. I'm like, is there a tactical thing that you could talk to me about? He's like, dude, we started using this thing called Maverick, trymaverick.com, I think it is. And it is a personalized generative video of their founder. When someone abandons cart, it sends them the video and it just personalizes their name. And he's like, and it's a really weak implementation right now. It's just like a white page with the video and like a response box. But he's like, our conversion rate doubled like when we did this. And he's like, the comments in the box that we were getting, it's like the goodwill's been amazing too. So I thought that was really interesting. A week later, my buddy Ryan Pamplin from BlendJet, who I think you guys do work with, he sends me this thing. Have you seen one-to-one video selling on Apple from Feel? Feel.tech. So this is the total opposite of what I just told you. Ryan's like, we started using it. It's amazing. It's actually a non-AI person selling direct-to-consumer products on the website through this technology. Which is like such a, it's like within 3 weeks I have like someone, it's just what these two people thought tactically was the most interesting thing that is interesting enough that I should hear about it is an AI generated video and a completely non-AI human video, both doing sales.
Okay. So it's not like what PostScript just released, which is that two-way text using human interaction. This is still with video.
Yeah, still with video. But tell me about that product. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, I just saw them talking about it. Where, to your point, you've got a bunch of companies going the AI route, thinking, how do we engage AI to respond to SMS, to respond to comments on social media, whatever. PostScript, from what I understand, is standing up like an actual not outsource, it's their team of sales reps based in the US somewhere, and they're going to respond on your brand's behalf to two-way text messages.
So there was a Shopify app called Live Recover that did this.
It's based off of that. Yeah. They basically took that model and are trying to implement it at scale.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm just like fascinated by what happened to me. It's like one guy saying the generative stuff's amazing, and then this other guy is like, real humans are amazing.
Totally.
You know, like in a very similar context, right? Like, yeah, I thought that was cool.
Team.
I've got some questions about team. I like you. So you guys are an incredible story. I don't know. You mentioned at least you were at 6 people last year, and now you're 40 at least. Okay.
That's 50. Yeah, it's not you. I wouldn't recommend it.
How do you?
We probably should have stopped at 20 for like a few months and then gone to 50.
Was there an intermediary step of like 200? No. Okay, it's more or less straight line 6 to 50.
Yeah, it was too, but it is what it is.
And the bulk of that happened like in a month.
Yeah.
I think, is that right? 1 or 2 months. How do you maintain consistency when you do that? How do you ensure that that they're representing you well and they all get on board? Like I know you've got the video series, for example, but I would love if you could talk a little bit about how you maintain consistency.
So you don't, I think. We knew that it was going to be, and by the way, like the way we got around this was, I think there's 2 parts of it. There's like the consistency part, like are your people trained up enough and, whatever, know the gig well enough. Then there's also your service to them as an employer. You need to like provide them with a good experience and onboarding and training and, help them with all this stuff. In terms of that latter thing, we just had to beg for forgiveness. We were like, look, there are no processes. There is no onboarding. Like we're just going to have to figure this out together. This first, whatever. We now have someone who's head of people ops and internal comms and is like, slowly making all of that more adult, I think is a good way to put it. And in terms of consistency, if you get down to the actual tech of our product, it's somewhat complicated. If you just focus on what it does and how to install it, it's fairly simple. So getting people to stick to this, 9-slide demo that we had, I don't think was that hard. Now, what is, I think, incredibly difficult is actually training them all to be the type of consultative people that we need them to be to actually properly qualify someone, manage their expectations appropriately, which is like, I wrote this in an email. It's like Dr. Squash got 50x in 90 days, but they're like 50 times bigger than our average customer, right? I don't know, several hundred million in revenue. It's like everybody wants that 50x. Of course, it's a case study on our homepage. How would you not put that on your homepage, right? Like, he's like telling this to all of Grow LA, and then they like book a demo and they want 50x. And like, I'm like, cool, we'll get the revenue Dr. Squash has and I'll get you 50x. But like, that's a delicate, it's like a delicate dance that needs to happen between a salesperson and a brand to where you're like, hey, not only is it not going to be 50x, this is the low season right now for you. Like we amplify throughput for people. Like, on the whole, we'll probably get you 10x, but like most of it's going to come in the fourth quarter because that's third and fourth, because that's most of your revenue in a lot of cases, right? So like, things like this I think are harder. But like, every day we just try to tackle the biggest problems, and it is finally getting, which is, what is this, 6 or 7 months after we started, doing this massive hiring, it's finally getting to the point where this is the priority. It's like the consistency and like, actually training people up well enough to do this job in a very sort of sharpshooter way. Like that is the top of the list now. And we have like the right staff to do it. So, but it was literally just like, well, we're going to need some VPs. We're going to need, we're probably going to need 10 salespeople and 13 CS. So like, let's just like go hire them all right now. And, Diana, like this woman went from doing the sales demos to like, all of a sudden, like we didn't have a CS leader for a long time. Like she had like 28 direct reports, like our VP, the VP layer didn't start till February 1st. So, it was a brutal time for her in particular. It was a brutal time for me until they started too, because I was handling a lot of product stuff and everything to do with affiliate and agency, trying to figure out the agency thing. So it was crushing. But yeah, I mean, I hope that, in a year from now, I will have had a better answer about exactly what we did. I mean, my answer is kind of like, well, you don't, you don't until you get there, right? Like,
yep. Awesome.
You just need an asterisk by the Dr. Squatch case study that says, if you run a Super Bowl commercial,
right?
Then
yeah. It's a strange thing, and like, I don't think it's hurting us, but it's just like, it's just annoying. It's like, why can't this just like cause the floodgate that it should, like that good of a brand, that good of an outcome. Like,
all right. I don't have any other questions, Mike. Do you have anything else?
I think I'm good.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.